Hi YouTubers, I'm going to today's video now. So I'm smoking this big ass cigar for life, and drinking some wine right now. So we spent 25 and a half last time. So I want to talk about this video right now. Very interesting ramble right now. So a lot of people like Fred likes these rambles. So I want to talk about worst case scenario. So what does that mean? And really, it's not tobacco related topic, obviously. Well, kind of can be tobacco related. So I want to talk about worst case scenario. So you have best case scenario, middle case scenario, worst case scenario. Now, best case scenario is like you win the lottery. You win like $1 billion and you never have to worry about money again. That's like a best case scenario. A worst case scenario is like, oh my god, you get hit by a car. Big ass cigar for life. So I want to talk about worst case scenario right now and how it really is portrayed specifically in the tobacco community. So, nice big ass cigar community. Obviously, we all know that smoking is not healthy, but that's your personal choice at 18 or 21 or 19, whatever. And that's why there's a legal age to buy tobacco products. That's why stores have to ask for ID of anyone who looks under 27. And people have a right to ask for your ID. And long story short, same thing with alcohol, same thing with lottery, same thing with gambling, and same thing with porn. So, basically, while the age of 18 and 21 is your personal choice, the reason why a lot of things are portrayed as worst case scenario is to shock people. Now, I'm not giving any kind of legal advice or any kind of medical advice. I'm not a doctor or a lawyer. I'm just a paralegal myself. But basically, a lot of this is to shock people. So when you see on like cigarette packs, or you see on, car room by 1 sec, sorry. You see on like cigarette packs, you see on those anti-smoking commercials, you have a like hole in your neck, you have lung cancer, mouth cancer, gum cancer, vascular disease, whatever, heart disease. Basically, a lot of this is a worst case scenario. So they're not going to tell you that because obviously these people are really backed up by a lot of anti-smoking propaganda, but obviously a lot of it is not propaganda. A lot of this is directed at cigarette smokers. That's another thing they're not going to tell you is 99.99% of this propaganda or anti-smoking stuff is directed towards a pack and a half a day cigarette smoker, which is the majority of the population, as opposed to like the occasional pipe and cigar smoker or the moderate pipe and cigar smoker. So the point I'm trying to make after rambling is obviously, in general with tobacco and other stuff, they're always going to present a worst case scenario. So they're going to say like, well, this is the worst thing that can happen to you aside from dying from tobacco. Kind of like the Tips from Former Smokers ads. Tips from a Former Smoker, where they discuss the worst thing that could possibly happen to you with this disease aside from dying. So you have the worst thing of lung cancer or a heart attack or stroke besides actually dying. So, and that's basically what they're trying to do, is say like, okay, you might not die, it might not end your life, but this is the worst thing that's going to probably happen to you. So it's always a worst case scenario. Same thing with like drinking and driving commercials, which is really good because drinking and driving is downright damn dangerous. So again, what's interesting is, of all the people who are stupid enough and dumb enough as dumbasses in the big ass cigar to actually go out and drive drunk, which is absolutely ridiculous and absolutely stupid, and anyone who's watching this video should definitely drink responsibly and should be over 21 and should never drink and drive because drinking and driving is horrible. Interesting enough, a lot of people get caught drinking and driving, but a lot of people, the majority of the cases, don't result in fatalities. So, not saying there are plenty of people this year who are killed by drunk drivers, but you'll see a lot of cases like in district court here in Massachusetts where you're caught in your first drunk driving, DUI or OUI, and you just get a standard probation sentence. But the point I'm trying to make is commercials on TV are always going to portray the worst case scenario. They're always going to say like, this is the worst case scenario that can happen to you aside from like dying. So and it's not to, by any stretch of the imagination, to encourage people to do bad things. So, again, these videos are for people who are over 18, over 21, and people who are of legal age to smoke nice big-ass cigars. But obviously, commercials are always going to portray worst-case scenarios. Same thing with medical stuff. When it comes to things like getting a annual whatever. Things like wearing your seatbelt. People are always going to portray the worst case scenario, and even though that might not happen to you, even though you might roll the lucky dice, as they say it, or draw the long straw as opposed to the short straw, they're always going to portray something like that. Because obviously you should be careful, you should be smart, not a dumbass, you get the point, so as in the big ass cigar. I mean, obviously, you should never drink and drive. You should always drink as long as you're over 21, or whatever the legal age in your country or state is, or Providence. Obviously, if you do choose to smoke cigars and pipes, you should do it in extreme moderation. Ideally, like a couple times a month, ideally. So, most people can't stick to that, but you get the point. Obviously, if you choose to drink any amount of alcohol, obviously extreme moderation, never drinking and driving, never ever getting behind the wheel of a car. You get the point to be smart, but commercials are always going to portray things in a more extreme way. So, and the point of it is, in a better sense, is to scare the shit out of you. So, they're trying to scare the shit out of you to get you to stop the bad behavior. So, and keep in mind, a lot of these commercials are also influenced by other types of indirect propaganda, or not propaganda, but it's really not the right word. Be as legitimate. Not really propaganda, but they're also influenced by governmental agencies, state agencies, people who are paying, the billions and billions of dollars each year for the expense of these cases in court, or the expense of these things. Drunk driving costs the U.S. government, I think it's like $130 billion. We essentially flush down, $200 billion a year for tobacco. So it's not just the people who are going to a cancer center getting cancer treatment. It's the people who are paying essentially, $250 billion each year for the expense of the care. So a lot of these people don't have good health insurance, so they have a different type of health insurance. You get the point. So there are obviously also other agencies like, fire departments, for example. That doesn't really make sense, but, think of all the times somebody has flicked a lit cigarette and it has caused fire, or somebody has been careless and has caused a brush fire by smoking. So you get the point. They're always going to portray in a more extreme way, because that's just what the agencies do. It's trying to get the shit out of you. So, and that's one of the best advertising techniques. Actually, I heard that from the Smoke Rings Pipe Dreams Cal a long time ago. So, anyway, Big Ass Cigar for Life. Bye. Big Ass Cigar for Life.